At a concert, she climbed on her best friend's shoulders and yelled he was better than me. The crowd cheered, but the next morning she realized she'd lost more than just a boyfriend, that I always knew concerts weren't exactly my thing. Crowded spaces, sweaty people pushing against each other, deafening music. I was more of a quiet evening with a good book kind of guy. But when my girlfriend, Alyssa, told me her favorite band was finally coming to town, I bought the tickets before she could even ask. I wanted her to be happy. After all, we'd been together for almost 2 years, and making each other happy was supposed to be the point, right? She was glowing that night, buzzing with excitement. The second we met her group of friends outside the arena, she slipped right into her element. Laughing, hugging, high-fiving, dancing in the parking lot while we waited for the gates to open. She was magnetic. Everyone loved her energy, and I couldn't help but smile, watching her come alive like that. The group wasn't just her college friends. There was also him, Tyler, her so-called best friend. The one she always assured me was basically a brother. I'd met him a few times before. He wasn't a bad guy, at least not on the surface. Charming, tall, confident in a way that made people lean toward him when he spoke. He wasn't openly disrespectful, but he had that vibe, the kind where you never really knew if his jokes had an edge. I told myself not to overthink it. She'd been friends with him long before me, and Alyssa always laughed off my hesitation. "Oh, come on, babe. Tyler's harmless. He's always been my hype man. Nothing more." I wanted to believe her. The concert kicked off in a blur of lights, booming bass, and thousands of voices screaming the lyrics at once. Alyssa clutched my hand in excitement at first, her eyes wide like a kid at Christmas. I squeezed her hand back, feeling, for a fleeting moment, that maybe I was enough for her, even here, even in this chaos. But then, halfway through the set, her favorite song started, the one she'd been waiting for all night. She turned to Tyler with that mischievous grin I'd seen so many times before, the one that usually meant trouble. "Ty, lift me up. I want to see from up there," she shouted, tapping his shoulder. Before I could even process it, Tyler crouched. She climbed onto his shoulders, and suddenly my girlfriend was towering above the crowd, laughing, screaming the lyrics, waving her arms like she was the star of the show. The people around us cheered. Some even pulled out their phones to record. Alyssa, basking in the attention, leaned down toward Tyler's ear and yelled, "You're taller, stronger, way better than my boyfriend." The words sliced through me. The crowd roared with laughter. Tyler chuckled awkwardly, but he didn't put her down. He just kept swaying with the music while she laughed at her own joke. And me? I stood there frozen. In that moment, I wasn't her partner. I wasn't even part of her world. I was just the guy in the background, the boring boyfriend who had paid for the tickets, who had driven everyone here, who had planned the night so she could have her perfect memory. And now that memory was at my expense. My chest felt tight, my face hot, but I didn't yell. I didn't push through the crowd to pull her down. I didn't argue with Tyler or demand an apology. Instead, I just turned, quietly pushed my way past the cheering strangers, and walked out of the arena. The sound of the music dulled as I reached the doors, but the echo of her words, "way better than my boyfriend," kept ringing in my ears, louder than any amplifier. I didn't look back. Not once. When I finally got home that night, the apartment felt eerily quiet. I didn't even bother turning on the lights. I tossed my keys on the counter, sat on the couch, and stared at the dark ceiling, replaying her voice in my head over and over. "Way better than my boyfriend." It was supposed to be a joke. That's what she would say later. That's always what she said when her words cut too deep. "You're too sensitive. Lighten up. Can't you take a joke?" But a joke loses its innocence when it's said to humiliate you in front of hundreds of strangers. A joke becomes a blade when it exposes how someone really feels deep down. I barely slept. When dawn came, I showered, dressed, and made myself coffee. No texts, no calls, no apologies, just silence. At around 10, I heard the familiar sound of her key in the lock. The door swung open and Alyssa stepped inside, looking like she had rolled straight out of bed. Her hair was a mess, her eyeliner smudged, and she carried her heels in one hand. "Baby," she called, her voice playful but cautious. "You disappeared last night. What happened?" I didn't answer right away. I sipped my coffee, keeping my eyes fixed on the steam rising from the mug. She frowned, dropping her shoes by the door. "Wait, are you mad? Seriously? About the concert?" Finally, I looked at her. "Do you remember what you said?" She tilted her head, clearly searching her memory. What I said? I don't know. I was singing half the night. Remind me. You told Tyler he was way better than your boyfriend. While sitting on his shoulders, in front of the crowd, a flash of recognition crossed her face, followed by something worse, dismissiveness. She actually laughed. Oh, that? Babe, it was a joke. Come on. Everyone was laughing, even Tyler. You're not seriously mad about that, are you? I set my mug down slowly. You humiliated me, Alyssa. She waved her hand like she was swatting away a fly. Oh my God, don't be so dramatic. It was a concert. Everyone was having fun. Nobody's gonna remember what I said except you. Her words stung, not because they were true, but because they showed how little she valued my feelings. So, I said quietly, your idea of fun is making me the punchline? Putting me down so strangers can laugh? She rolled her eyes. You're twisting it. It wasn't that deep. I was hyped up. The music was loud. Tyler's tall. It was just a spur-of-the-moment thing. Honestly, you're blowing this way out of proportion. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. She was defensive, annoyed that I wasn't brushing it off like usual. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about one night. This was a pattern. Every time she made a cutting remark, every time she brushed off my hurt with, "It's just a joke," I had let it slide. I had trained her to believe my dignity was negotiable. Not anymore. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and headed toward the door. Where are you going? She asked sharply. For a drive, I said simply. Wait, are you seriously going to sulk about this all day? You're unbelievable. I didn't answer. I just walked out. The drive gave me clarity. I wasn't going to argue with her. I wasn't going to beg her to understand why I felt disrespected. She had shown me who she was, and I had finally decided to believe her. By the time I got back that evening, I knew what I needed to do. Alyssa was sprawled on the couch scrolling through her phone. She didn't even look up when I came in. I ordered Thai, she said casually. You want pad Thai or curry? I looked at her for a long moment before answering. Neither. I'm moving out. Her phone slipped from her hands. What? Are you kidding? I'm not. Her mouth opened and closed, like she was trying to process what she had heard. You're seriously breaking up with me? Over a joke? This isn't about one joke, I said calmly. It's about how little you respect me. Last night was just the final straw. Her face twisted in disbelief. Oh my God, you're insane. We've been together 2 years, and you're going to throw it all away because I had fun at a concert? I shook my head. No, Alyssa. I'm ending this because you threw it away. Every time you belittled me, every time you made me the target of your jokes, every time you dismissed how I felt, you chipped away at us. Last night was just when I finally decided I'd had enough. She stood up, her voice rising. So that's it. You're just leaving? No discussion, no second chance. I met her eyes. I gave you 100 second chances. You laughed through every one of them. And with that, I went to the bedroom, pulled out a suitcase, and started packing. Her protests followed me down the hall, but I tuned them out. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt calm. Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since I walked out of that apartment with my suitcase. 3 weeks since I told Alyssa, calmly and clearly, that I was done being the butt of her jokes. At first, the silence was blissful. No phone buzzing with her sarcastic texts. No digs about me being boring. No walking on eggshells. Waiting for the next public humiliation disguised as humor. I'd forgotten how good it felt to just breathe without someone constantly undercutting me. But of course, the silence didn't last. By day 3, she was calling, then texting. At first it was angry. You're seriously gonna throw everything away because you're too sensitive? Then it turned pitiful. I can't believe you do this after everything we've been through. I miss you. Please come home. I ignored all of it. I didn't block her yet. I wanted the record of her words, but I didn't engage either. Then the mutual friends got involved. Dude, Alyssa says you're ghosting her. One buddy texted me. Not ghosting, I replied. Breaking up. You serious? Over the concert. I almost laughed. That's how she framed it. Not years of subtle disrespect, not countless times of making me the punchline. Just one little joke at a concert. She's not telling you the whole story, I texted back. And honestly, I don't need to explain myself to anyone. I'm done. Some friends respected that. Others tried to guilt me. One even said, she just has a playful sense of humor, man. You're too uptight. But here's the thing. Humor isn't funny when only one person is laughing. And in our relationship, that one person was never me. The kicker came a week later when a mutual friend Sarah called me out of the blue. She didn't mince words. Hey, she said, I need to tell you something. Alyssa's been playing victim to everyone, saying you blindsided her. But I was at that concert, and honestly, it was bad. Like, humiliating bad. People were whispering about how cold it was of her to say that. You walking out. Nobody blamed you. That was the first time I'd heard anyone else validate what I felt that night. Up until then, Alyssa's narrative was winning. She painted me as the oversensitive boyfriend who couldn't take a joke. But Sarah's words reminded me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. The humiliation had been real. Other people saw it too. Meanwhile, Alyssa's attempts escalated. She showed up at my new place once, pounding on the door and yelling that we needed to talk. I didn't open it. I just filmed her from the peephole and kept the footage, in case she tried something dramatic. Later that night, she texted me, You're really gonna ignore me after everything? I chose you over so many guys, and this is how you repay me. That one stung, not because I wanted her back, but because it revealed her mindset. To her, being with me wasn't about respect or love. It was about her choosing me, as though I should be grateful just to be picked. She didn't understand that respect is a two-way street. Then came the social media storm. I don't post much, but Alyssa does. And apparently, she couldn't help herself. She started with vague quotes. Some people can't handle a strong woman. Then selfies with captions like, smiling through the pain, stronger than ever flexed biceps. Mutual friends tagged me in her posts, jokingly asking if I was the weak man she was referencing. I just ignored it. But the irony is, her own followers didn't buy it. The comments turned against her. Girl, weren't you the one who said your boyfriend was pathetic at that concert? Someone wrote. Another added, if you don't respect your man, don't be surprised when he leaves. The more she posted, the more backlash she got. It wasn't me who ruined her reputation. She did that all by herself. As for me, I started focusing on rebuilding. I poured time into work, hit the gym harder than ever, reconnected with old friends I drifted from while walking on eggshells around Alyssa. And for the first time in years, I felt steady. The nights were quiet, sure, but they weren't lonely. I wasn't sitting there waiting for the next jab disguised as a joke. Instead, I was sitting with peace. And peace felt better than any half-love ever could. The last straw with Alyssa came just a few days ago. She left me a voicemail, her voice shaky, almost broken. I don't understand how you can just walk away. I made a mistake, okay? I went too far. But we have history, memories, you can't just erase me. The thing is, I wasn't erasing her. Memories stay whether you want them or not. But history doesn't excuse the present. And the present was simple. She crossed a line one too many times. So I deleted the voicemail, blocked her number, and sat back on my couch. For the first time, I felt the weight lift completely. Alyssa had wanted the crowd's laughter that night. She got it. But in the end, she lost the one person who actually mattered. Final update that it's been 4 months since that night at the concert. Sometimes I still hear her words echoing in my head. The way she laughed, the way the crowd roared, the way my stomach sank as I realized I was the only one in the room not smiling. But those echoes don't sting the way they used to. They feel more like distant thunder now, a reminder of a storm I walked out of before it destroyed me. After the breakup, life didn't magically fix itself. I had weeks where I questioned if I'd done the right thing. Nights where I replayed everything we shared, wondering if maybe I should have forgiven her, chalked it up to one bad night. That's the thing about relationships. Even toxic ones, they worm their way into your habits, your routines, your sense of identity. But then I'd remember all the little cuts that came before the final wound. The way she'd belittle my job in front of friends. The way she'd joke about how, at least Tyler knows how to dance. The way she dismissed my feelings as though they were inconveniences, not truths. And I'd remind myself, leaving wasn't dramatic. It was overdue. I haven't spoken to Alyssa since I blocked her. Mutual friends fill in the blanks sometimes, though. Apparently, she tried to spin the story that I overreacted and abandoned her. But the problem with making your relationship a public spectacle is that people already saw the cracks. They saw her on Tyler's shoulders. They heard her words. They noticed me walking out. And when the narrative unfolded, I wasn't the villain. She was. I've been told she's burned through a few social circles since then. Friends got tired of the constant victim playing. Some even told her point blank that she should have treated me better. Instead of listening, she cut them off. As for Tyler, her so-called better than my boyfriend best friend, He apparently distanced himself pretty quickly. Word is, he didn't want to be caught in the fallout. He has a girlfriend of his own, and whatever fantasy Alyssa had about him swooping and never materialized. Karma has a way of being quiet but thorough. Meanwhile, my life has started to feel lighter. Work has been steady, and I've been traveling for the first time in years. Just small trips, a weekend by the coast, a few hikes with friends. But every trip feels like reclaiming a piece of myself. I didn't realize how much of my energy had gone into managing Alyssa's moods, smoothing over her digs, or pretending I wasn't embarrassed by her jokes. Now, that energy goes into me, into building something, not patching holes in something broken. I've also started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but the experience is different this time. I'm paying attention to respect, not just chemistry. I want someone who listens, who values kindness as much as laughter. Someone who doesn't confuse mockery with humor. And for the first time, I believe I deserve that. The biggest surprise, though, came a few weeks ago. I ran into Sarah, the same friend who'd called me after the breakup to say she understood why I walked out. We grabbed coffee, just catching up, and she admitted something. You know, a lot of us envied you before, she said. I blinked. Envied me. Yeah. Alyssa had this charisma. She was funny, magnetic. People thought you were lucky to be with her. But after the concert, after the way she spun things, we realized you weren't lucky. You were patient. Too patient. That hit me harder than I expected. For years, I thought I was the one punching above my weight, that Alyssa was the fun one, and I was the steady, boring anchor. But hearing Sarah say that, it reframed everything. Patience isn't luck. Endurance isn't love. And sometimes, being the quiet one in the relationship doesn't make you boring. It makes you strong. I won't pretend there's no bitterness left. Part of me still resents how easily Alyssa dismissed me, how little she valued what we had. There's anger too. Anger at myself for tolerating it so long. But mostly, there's relief. Because the truth is, she was right that night in a way she didn't mean. Tyler was taller. Tyler was better in her eyes. And by saying it out loud, by putting her priorities on display in front of the world, she freed me. She handed me the clarity I'd been too afraid to grasp on my own. I used to think the worst thing that could happen was being left. But I've learned something. The worst thing isn't being left. The worst thing is staying with someone who doesn't respect you. So when Alyssa shouted into that microphone of a crowd, she thought she was making a joke. Instead, she wrote the punchline of our relationship. And the punchline was this. She lost me, and I found myself.